Following some high-profile hackings this week at the New York Times, Twitter, and the Huffington Post, a lot of companies are evaluating just how safe their websites are and how prepared they are against an attack. And Eamon Javers joins us now with more on what companies and security experts are doing to protect against future intrusions. Eamon, nice to have you here.
Thanks for having me.
What are they doing?
Well, they're not doing enough if you talk to cybersecurity experts. Now, of course, cybersecurity experts have a vested interest in telling companies to buy more cybersecurity software.
Right.
But what we saw this week with the New York Times was an attack that the Times said, in particular, was done by the Syrian Electronic Army, or somebody who was trying to appear like the Syrian Electronic Army. Now, that's a group that's loosely affiliated with the Syrian regime, Bashar al-Assad, that's been under such scrutiny over the past coming days and the possible subject of a U.S. military strike, which raises a whole geopolitical question here for companies and institutions that are trying to defend against cyber attacks. Will they sort of reap some of the blowback of U.S. foreign policy decisions as hackers respond to things that the United States is doing by targeting American companies? That's something that's a little bit new, that we haven't really seen that before.
Right. This has to hit them in the pocketbook, though. What kind of losses are we talking about when you see these kinds of attacks on companies like the New York Times?
Well, so far, so good. I mean, the New York Times site was down yesterday for certain people who were trying to access it, not necessarily for everybody. They told me they were able to get it up pretty quickly. So the revenues lost by the New York Times yesterday, probably not significant. What the problem will be is if the hackers are able to get beyond just the public-facing websites and get into the guts of some of these companies and get credit card information, get into the material operations of these companies, that's where you could see significant losses.
I mean, the other issue on the side of the businesses, I mean, these are high-profile companies that put out the news that they were hacked, but a lot of companies still think it's a taboo to say that they've been vulnerable and that they've been hacked. I mean, how much is that holding back from them solving their problems?
It's one of the biggest problems that cybersecurity experts face, is that the companies who are their clients, they're working with these companies to try to prevent these attacks. They don't want any details getting out there, partly for liability reasons, because there's money at stake here in some of these disputes over who's responsible for this, partly for brand protection reasons. They don't want to be embarrassed by this. The experts say they would like these companies to be more forthcoming, to really come clean and tell people, tell Americans, tell customers when they've been hacked, because that will show the scale of the problem and the types of people who are doing it and some of the things that they can do to start to solve it.
I suspect we'll be talking more about this in the future, unfortunately.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Eamon.
Thank you.
Eamon Javers joining us tonight.